You're listening to The Kidson Show, live on Ridge Radio.
So welcome along to the show. I have a very special guest this weekend. It's been a guest that we've been trying to book in for half a year.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So you are known to me and your friend circles as Andy, but to the musical world, you are IBM.
Yes, that's correct.
And for the liquid drum and bass world, you're part of innerSoul.
I certainly am. Yes, that's
Good.
right.
So I've had a couple of innerSoul people in along so far.
Yep.
I've had The Wook and I've had Menos.
Yep.
So for anyone listening now as well, what I'll do is in the blog post of this show, because every show I do a blog post and then I put up stuff that we speak about as a guest. I will also put up the links to the other shows because they do kind of collate a little bit. They're through different times of the year, so we are talking like different innerSoul events at those periods.
Yep.
Because you have an event coming up which we'll talk about soon.
Yes, that's right.
And we will have the usual link to the blog, which is live now. So if you're listening live now, you can see the event, the link, see tickets, who's playing, that kind of thing. But if you're listening again, all this stuff's there for you to see and listen to. So my guest tonight is choosing all the music.
That's correct.
And you have an interesting musical background. Some bad tunes in there I've seen.
Thanks. I guess it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think my first kind of love was hardcore.
Yeah.
I did follow it into the boom, 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 happy hardcore for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to admit that sometimes.
If we had as a guest that say friends of you, Bustin, he's been on.
Okay, yeah.
He's seriously hardcore.
He's, and still seriously hardcore.
Yes.
It got, for me, a little bit too boom, boom, boom. I think as we play tunes, you'll realise my kind of taste changed over the years, and the early stuff I quite liked the boom boom boom, but then as it kind of progressed, I kind of went into much more musical stuff, if that's the right thing to say, because I guess hardcore is still musical. Sorry, Bustin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hide the fact I don't like hardcore. At all, really. I don't get it. I listen to it. So I listen to, like, Bustin does a lot of stuff still nowadays and stuff. Yeah. So I bought him and have a listen and things. But yeah, the hardcore thing I just never got. I mean, you know, I've run hardcore rooms at events and things, but personally, it's not my thing. So we'll have a little scan over what you've picked musically wise. So we're going to start with a track, which we'll do in a second. Cool. But looking through this, there's some good stuff in there. A garage track I wouldn't have expected. Yeah, so around the kind of 98 into the early 2000s, I was really into my garage. So I wanted to kind of try and represent that, but I think the tune choice on that's quite an obvious one. But I'm also quite into deep house, kind of chill out stuff, and obviously liquid drum and bass. So there's a bit of a mixture in there. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to cover a little bit about, personally, you're quite an interesting guy, not just from a musical point of view, but you are a full-fledged pilot.
Yes, that's right.
Which is a recent news for you. You've recently done your studies and your tests and your 1,000 things you've done and hours and...
Yes. Yeah, I think we could probably talk about that for a few hours because that is how long it would take to go through it all. So, yes.
Yeah, so well, congratulations on doing that as well, 'cause it's very recent. So for now, for you, it's looking for your plane to fly, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. So if there is anyone listening who happens to own a jet, I am an unemployed pilot, and I'll be happy to fly it for you.
So in between DJing at the weekends, you're Mr. Pilot come the week. So yeah, let's move on. Let's play first track of the night.
Cool.
So why have you picked this?
So I guess my earliest... So when I was young, obviously you listen to kind of what your mum listens to, and my mum was very kind of into things like Queen, Dire Straits, a bit of Motown, things like that. And when I was like young, I can't say I really had any passion for music until someone gave me one ear out of their Sony Walkman, and it was some early hardcore, and I remember listening to that, just thinking, wow, what is this? This is so not like anything else I've heard. And from that moment, I was just hooked, really. And being kind of, I was quite young when that happened, so it was very difficult for me to get hold of the music at that time. So the first track is one of the first hardcore tunes that I can kind of remember listening to. It's a track called Amazon. I believe it was done by one of the guys that used to run Wax City Records in Croydon, but
Okay.
he had loads of aliases back then, and so I'm not 100% sure if it was actually him or not, but certainly the branding of the record...
So that wasn't Kev Energy's thing, was it?
It wasn't Energy, it was John, so Chaos.
Yes.
And I think that he definitely had a hand in this tune, but I'm not exactly sure. But I know that the
This
branding
means it's
of it...
going to have a ripped vocal from somewhere, I guess.
Not really. Well,
No?
there is a bit of a vocal there, but it's not like
Not
what
stolen.
It's not what John did later on in his Boom Boom Happy Hardcore. Let's put
Okay.
it that way. It's kind of a bit jungly, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a listen. So you are listening to the first show of the night. I'm John Kidson. I have DJ I.B.M. with me, and we'll be talking all things innerSoul related for the upcoming event in a few tracks' time. Enjoy.
Get involved with the show on Twitter via @KidsonShow.
Lurking there behind the shadows.
to listen again? Then head over to mixcloud.com/Kidson Show.
So don't mind that. That's nice hardcore, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not too bad. It's the happy hardcore for me that just peaks too much for me.
So I did follow it into happy hardcore for a little bit, and when I was trying to pick some tunes to bring today, I did pull out some things that I kind of question my sanity of ever buying, to be totally honest with you. But your tastes change, and it will always hold a special place in my heart, and I'd never consider selling it. But equally so, I don't know if I'd actually admit on the radio of buying some of the tunes that I own in my hardcore section, to be honest.
Keep something a bit quiet.
I was young, all right? Young and foolish.
Right, so let's try and get the listeners, to those that don't know about you or haven't heard you before, let's try and home it down a little bit to what you've achieved or what you've done so far. Okay. So you've DJ'd out quite a lot. Your passion is that you really enjoy DJing.
Yeah, I love DJing. And I have tried to dabble at producing, but to be honest, the excitement of making loads of people dance, it's loud, lots going on, compared to sitting in front of two screens, getting a studio tan, as they call it. It's, to me, playing out is amazing, love it. And if you get a good gig, there's not many better feelings in this world when it really goes off and the dance floor goes nuts.
So let's home down a DJing thing then. So you predominantly play, say, liquid drum and bass nowadays, out and about. Mm-hmm. At quite a high level, like compared to some of the lineups you're on are really impressive.
But in all fairness, that's mainly down to innerSoul.
Though. But I've booked you irrelevant of before innerSoul and bits and bobs for other events and things. You played at quite a few different venues, haven't you? And quite a lot of other brands now book innerSoul as a host and stuff, don't they?
That's right. And I feel quite humbled about all of the places that I have played, because to be honest, I never expected to DJ at half of the places I have. And it's funny, the previous DJ mentioned my name, I.B.M, and I'm called IBM literally because I'd never actually had a DJing name, and I never really thought I needed one because I never imagined that I'd end up playing out. I never thought I was going to be on flyers. And then I was there with Russell S1, one of the other innerSoul guys, one day, and we were doing a tape, and he was like, you need a name. And I won't tell you what we ended up putting into IBM, because that's like the little bit of mystery, but we kind of picked IBM, just like, that'll do. And even at that point, I never thought I'd end up on flyers. And now sometimes I look at my name as IBM on flyers, and I regret it a little bit, and I wish I put a bit more thought into it. But hey-ho, it is what it is.
So, most memorable gig to date?
Ooh. I think, from playing at, so where I've had the most fun playing it was probably one of yours, actually, and that was at Hidden.
Really?
Yeah, it just went off.
Hidden, of all clubs, not like Cable or like anything else.
There was just something about that set on that night. I think it just worked. Everything, it was one of those I could have pulled out any tune and the place would have gone nuts.
So were you playing drum and bass?
Yeah.
So I had you in the dark room. Ones with black walls.
They're all dark, weren't they?
Yeah, the right hand side.
Yes, that's right.
One with the hidden booth, like in a wall kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who was on before me, but they went deep. So they were playing real dark drum and bass. So I was kind of like, really put a bit of thought into the first tune, because I was like, I kind of need to soften it up a little bit. But, you can't really go from what they've just played to what I played. And I just got this tune selection on point that night, and it just really went off. So in relation to DJing, that's probably one of my favourite gigs. And also the sound system was pretty good, if I remember. I remember feeling the bass in that little booth. So that's, from a DJing perspective, it's that. From kind of being involved in the scene and DJing at, but maybe not quite as I never enjoy DJing at innerSoul as much as I enjoy just turning up with a bag of tunes somewhere and playing for someone else.
Well, it's stress levels and all the other stuff involved in it, isn't it? So.
Exactly. So I've done some good sets at innerSouls, but there's always too much going on at an innerSoul to really kind of enjoy your set, to be honest. But talking about innerSouls, the one that we had around this time last year, so it was our 5th birthday. That was just a special one, and I really enjoyed the little bit of DJing time that I got at that. So. Yeah,
because there's a handful of you that are a part of the brand, isn't there?
Yes.
So you kind of take it in turns on actually DJing when it comes to the nights.
Yes, and so there's 6 of us, and we tend to take it in turns, and sometimes we just all jump on. There's not a lot of thought or planning that goes into our DJ sets in innerSoul, to be honest. Sometimes we kind of decide who's playing on the night, and quite often that'll be down to who's tired and not tired and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It feels like doesn't feel like we're doing the innerSoul brand justice. We're making it sound like it's a bit like chuck it together on the night, but it's not. Like you book, you currently at Fire, so you're pulling 1,000 punters.
Yep.
You've got Lensman. You're booking the heart of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into the overall lineup.
Yeah.
A massive amount of thought. The DJs that we book, also the MCs. We really like to kind of match MCs to DJs, and we think that will work well, rather than just having a bit of a free for all. So we put a lot of thought into the lineups and how we curate the night. Our sets, there isn't, the actual innerSoul residents, maybe I'd say not so much thought goes into that.
Yeah, but then it's anyone that's promoted events himself or whatever, and that they know what it's like. I had my name on all my event flyers and things. Sometimes I play, sometimes I didn't. Depends just on what's going on, how busy it is, and
yeah, exactly. There's definitely been gigs because we tend to go at the beginning or at the end, and the beginning's always you're a bit quiet, and then it kind of halfway through that beginning set, it starts to kind of get a bit busy. But if you're playing the last set, it's not so bad now, but kind of back in the early days, it was always like you didn't actually know whether you were going to play because we didn't know if we were going to be busy, and if we were not busy, we would have closed the club. So, there's a lot of stress in putting on a night. And so when you DJ at it, I'm more thinking about the smoothness of the night rather than my tune selection and what have you. So, yeah.
I was exactly the same. That's why I pretty much played the same set for like 3 years straight.
I never noticed.
Right, let's move on and play a bit more music.
Cool.
What's next?
Okay, so the next track kind of started to set my musical journey in a way. I really love. It's kind of hard to describe, but kind of musical music that kind of takes you on a journey. It's quite not trancey, but just quite musical. I don't really know how to kind of categorize it. It's not necessarily. It's not hard, if that makes sense. You've got quite a lot of natural instruments and what have you. So one of the first kind of hardcore tracks that I heard that was like that, early hardcore, was this next track, and that is Papua New Guinea by the Future Sounds of London.
Enjoy this one. It's the second track of the night. As I said, head to kidsonshow.com and you can find a blog post about all of the upcoming stuff and links to Andy's socials and things like that. Enjoy.
Get involved with the show on Facebook via @Kidson Show. to kidsonshow.com to find out more about the show.
That's a nice track. Very like euphoric-y, build-up-y. Yeah.
Yes, euphoric was the kind of word I was looking for
Euphoric.
earlier on.
That was probably its own genre at some point.
Definitely.
So we've briefly covered a little bit about your DJing. Let's talk more about. So you say you've dabbled in a bit of producing and things like that.
Yes.
But you're the kind of audio geek, editing, mastering guy in the way of recorded sets on nights, and
Yeah.
you spend a lot of studio time doing that side of things, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of the time that I'm in my kind of makeshift studio at home is doing that for innerSoul. To master the nights takes quite a while. It's quite a long process because obviously you have to basically listen to the whole thing back. I mean, you've got multiple rooms. It's, sometimes you have to repeat certain bits.
So do you get recording feed then? Let's talk about the current venue, Fire. Mm-hmm. So are you recording all each room?
2 rooms, I
Yep.
think. Whether we'll do the third, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, depending on the artist, basically, whether we're recording, because obviously some of them don't like us recording, so it would depend on that, really.
Yeah, but I imagine you record, just don't publish, I guess.
Yeah, we never. A couple of sets have gone out, but that's if we have a recording and we're interested in putting it out, we'll always go to the artist and basically let them hear it, and they obviously have to say so on whether it goes out or not. So there are a few live recordings out, but generally the DJs that play aren't really that keen on anything going out, to be honest with you. And to be frank, quite a lot of the riders say that you shouldn't be recording. So yeah, could be a sticky one, that.
Yeah, we'll stick clear of that. Pretend I didn't ask that. Right, your next track is a bit more hardcore-y. It's a bit more kind of old school Eruption FM for us kind of stuff.
Yes, so I thought I should at least include one boom 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 in.
Yep.
But it's still kind of got that breakbeat kind of element to it. I think the happy hardcore eventually lost all of that.
That was a
or
genre
lot of
you
that.
kind of never really got into, really, did
Not
you?
really, no. Some of the tracks that I heard you play were all right and what have you, but I was never massively into that. But I liked. I do like the kind of beat patterns and what have you, but I think sometimes you don't have enough capacity to deal with all of the different genres that are out there. And sometimes
true.
I find you have to stick to a couple of things. So this next track, it is a bit boom boom boom, but it's still got that kind of breakbeat element. It's kind of euphoric.
I love the way when people come in and talk about hardcore as a guest. I love it because everyone's like, some people, unless you've got like your bussin' who's just full out, doesn't care.
Yeah.
Generally, a lot of people are embarrassed about it, which it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's like a dirty little secret sometimes.
A lot of people just come across like kind of like embarrassed about it, or they skip over it a little bit. Even kind of like guests that I had that were like big in the racings back then and stuff, and that it's seems like a taboo kind of subject to talk about. It's
Yeah, well, like I say, when I was kind of flicking through tunes, I did pull out some things, and I was like, should I play that? And then I kind of listened to it, and it's like, oh, on my ears now, the quality
sounds horrific.
Yeah, that's not happening. So
with your 96 like MP3, like
but it'd be wrong for me to come on the show and not pull out some hardcore, because that for me it was my first love musically. It's the first kind of music I got a bit geeky in. To be honest, I'm probably more geeky. I was more geeky in music back then, and I kind of knew all the artists and labels than I do now about drum and bass, to be honest. So,
you reckon?
Yeah, I was really into it, and I think obviously going to the record shops, buying like the music like it was back then, you had to be that bit more geeky. Now with the internet, it's so easy not to be geeky but still get all the tunes. If that makes sense, exactly. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop talking about this next track.
All right, we'll hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. It's Influence, and it's by DJ Slam.
Welcome to Ridge Radio, playing the best of local and worldwide music. Get involved with the show on Twitter via @Kidson Show.
So yeah, that is that's as hardcore as you're going to go.
That is very true.
To be honest,
yes.
ain't a bad track. Ain't too kind of hard dancey, stompy kind of vibe to it.
It's good, I think, and I used to like it. I still do, to be honest. And I love that piano with the amen in the middle. Love that.
You do love an amen break.
I love an amen break. Yeah, you can't have too much amen. Definitely not.
So the next track, you're saying is a nice chilled number. So you like kind of chill out. So we said the word earlier, euphoric, didn't we? So you like your nice build-ups and then your chilled stuff and that, which I guess leads, to be honest, what I would say, collates to liquid drum and bass.
Pretty much, yeah. There's
a lot of liquid tracks have like a jazzy tip to them quite often.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a nice big build up. I guess that collates to what you listen to. It's
Totally.
the most, probably genre wise, it's probably the most, how would we word it, modern day music from like a rave point of view that collates that lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Liquid drum and bass has probably always been, I may offend a few people here, but it's always been kind of the grown up genre of drum and bass.
Without offending anyone. And
if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it does seem to be that side of it.
Yeah, I think if you're outside the scene and you don't know about liquid drum and bass, you'll be surprised when you hear it for the first time. I know that at work I have, when people have found out I'm a DJ, they're like, oh, let me hear some of your stuff. So I've pointed them to SoundCloud and things like that. And they often come back saying, that is not what I expected. They were expecting kind of, dance floor kind of drum and bass, the kind of commercial stuff that they might have heard. And they don't really expect the type of things that I play.
So you're quite lucky where you've generally always DJ'd, say, drum and bass or hardcore when it was about or whatever. People say to me, what DJ do you do? I like me saying, I play breakbeat. It's a genre no one ever plays or heard of anymore. It was around for about a year, now it died. No one knows, no one cares.
Yeah, so I've been a bit lucky along those lines. But on the hardcore thing, I definitely, if I think back to school, I definitely was still liking it and buying it when pretty much all of my friends had jumped ship, shall we say, and everyone was listening to other stuff. So I definitely followed it a little bit longer than a lot of people.
You follow it from a punter point of view. You went out and about raving and things and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You tick off all your usual London things.
Bagley's, slamming vinyls.
Did you ever DJ in Bagley's before it shut?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I wish I could have. Many a good night was had in Bagley's. It was the first kind of place I went to. It was the first rave kind of thing that I ever went to, was a slamming vinyl at Bagley's when I was 15. And yeah, it was great. And I also went to I did a couple of the other big ones, like what was the one in Milton Keynes? I can't think of the name.
Sanctuary.
I went to the Sanctuary.
I played at a Sanctuary reunion.
Okay.
Even though I wasn't pretty much alive when
yeah.
they were going on, so.
That's quite funny, actually, yeah. Who are you? This is a reunion. Shepton Mallet, I remember going there for, I think it was a Dreamscape, and I think it was just ridiculously big.
Or what about topping trumps of you, Lyd Airport?
Lyd Airport. I've never raved there. I've flown into there a few times. Yeah. Russell S1 has often been like, can we go to Lyd one day? Because I know he went to a rave there, so he always wants me to fly him there. But never went to a rave there, unfortunately.
So anyone who's an aviation person, because you've probably got them on your friend list, and I imagine you've gathered plane enthusiasts,
that's right.
Pilots and friends. I don't know what you call yourselves.
Pilots, generally. Funny enough, not all pilots are that geeky about aviation. The real geeky ones are the spotters.
Is it a bit like, say if you play weekend football, obviously we're talking on a much different scale here.
Okay.
You say you play weekend football, I say cool, right, my hometown where I play is like Catford Pits or something. That's where I'm at. So do you have obviously you fly out of Biggin Hill?
Yeah.
Is do you say that is your base? That is
when you're learning, you tend to train somewhere. So you obviously want that somewhere quite close. And so, yeah, it is your base. And that will be one of the questions that people will generally ask you, you know, where did you train or where do you fly out of?
Okay.
And for me, that is, you know, in this country is Biggin Hill. So yeah, I guess that's my local.
How well was
if you like.
Biggin Hill known in the aviation circuit? 'Cause it's got a big history and stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah, really well known because of its history. You know, RAF base in the Second World War. You know, a major RAF base, obviously, at that time, and then I think right up to the 50s or 60s, it was still RAF.
But it's constantly, because I live right near the airport, for people that don't know or whatever, and it's just constant fog.
Yeah, well, it's
like a really bad place for an airport.
It's, yeah, to be geeky, it's 605 feet above sea level. So, obviously, if you get low cloud, you're already 600 feet closer to it, and fog is just low cloud, basically, that touches the ground. So yeah, Biggin Hill can get fogged in while other places are still clear.
Have you ever been up in the air,
Yep.
clear skies, everything, and then not, unable to land? But obviously your plane is based in Biggin Hill.
Yes.
So how does that scenario work?
You always have a plan B. So you always have somewhere to divert to. There's kind of two types of flying. So when you learn, you generally, up to a certain point when you're learning, everything's visual. So you haven't really learned how to fly by instruments. So there are certain legal requirements on how far you can see and things like that you have to kind of stick to. So if you do fly off somewhere, and then on your way home, you can kind of get the weather for the airport that you're going to, and it turns out that it's foggy there or whatever, then, yeah, you need to go and land somewhere else. So whenever you plan a flight, you'll always kind of plan, your diversion.
But then what do you do with that plane? Obviously, because your car's going to be at the other airport.
Yeah.
Do you actually have to wait out the weather?
Which
sometimes is obviously unrealistic.
Yeah, generally. So it's never actually happened to me because my planning is always top notch.
Okay, yeah.
But for people, it has happened to. Obviously, the planes I fly, you're a member of a flying club, so you then start ringing up people around the flying club, and someone will come and get you.
Okay.
You can pay to park the plane there overnight, and then you'll go get it the next day or what.
Is it extortionate prices?
It depends where. So some airports.
And who pays for that? The club? Or
no,
you?
You as an individual. So some airports extremely reasonable, like £12 parking overnight.
That's all right.
A major airport.
I'm guessing you can't get on an app, type in a number and pre-book it while you're flying there.
I know Southend, for example. So that's an airport that's open practically all night. And I did at one point think, I need to build up some hours. I could just go and fly there all night. And I think after 11 o'clock, they wanted £230 for each landing or something like that. So, yeah, some airports are very expensive, others are very cheap, and I guess that the big airports need to support all the infrastructure and all of the equipment they've got, and that's why they end up charging those prices. So
nice.
And also, I guess you maybe don't want that many planes flying around at 11 o'clock at night because the neighbours wouldn't be that happy. So you probably price it to kind of keep people like me
deferred away in bits
out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. We'll no doubt come back to the flying thing because
Cool.
I'm sure there'll be people listening that are interested. Let's go back to music. So
Yep.
we said this is your chill out track. This is your thing.
Yeah, so I really love kind of chilled out music, stuff that, euphoric, as we were talking about, stuff that takes you on a journey. And this track kind of ticks all of those boxes. It's by a Russian group, and I've listened to some of their other stuff. To be honest, this is way more kind of... compared to the other stuff they make, this is very different, and so it's really the only track that they've made that I really like, to be honest. But it is entitled Buddha, and it is by Triangle Sun.
The Kidson Show, every Sunday 8 till 10 p.m, live on Ridge Radio.
Beautiful piece of music.
Yeah, very chill. Does make you want to talk chilled as well.
On the chilled voice.
Is there a symbol or something at the end? 10 seconds.
Don't think so.
No?
Could be. Can't remember. I'm normally asleep by this stage.
Get involved with the show on Facebook via @Kidson Show.
Right, so we are halfway through the show or halfway through the podcast if you're listening again. So head to kidsonshow.com and there will be a blog post about IBM, the guest I have with me today. And there'll be all the information about the upcoming innerSoul event, and that is actually on the 1st of December at Fire, a couple of weeks away.
Yep.
All the lineups on the website, everything's there.
Yep.
Should we whittle off a bit about the event as we're halfway through the show? It kind of feels right.
Yeah, sure. So our biggest event yet, a massive lineup. So Lensman back-to-back Artificial Intelligence on a 2-hour set. Really looking forward to that one. SpectraSoul, Technomatic, LSB, Fabio. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah,
and
it's
on.
looking good.
Yes.
I also really like the artwork. I like the theme of this night. It looks nice. I like the colours and like the promotion of it. It looks smart.
Yeah, big shout out to Nick, who does all of that for us, working very hard. It's one of the things I really love about innerSoul, the whole the kind of visual brand, and that all boils, or it goes back to Paddy, a guy called Paddy, who kind of I think initially created the look. And kind of, more recently, Nick has kind of continued that look. And I think a lot of drum and bass nights, it's quite a masculine. They're kind of all of the themes very masculine and hard and dark. And
a lot of it is pictures of the artists all kind of looking like a bit moody and kind
and I always
steer clear of that. It's,
we always wanted our
you like a pastel colour,
a bit more feminine maybe as well. And I don't know if it's that, but we also get quite a good mix of males to females.
which is a bit rare in drum and bass.
Exactly.
Normally it is a bit like sausage festy.
It can be, exactly. So I think that, I don't know whether the branding helps with that, but certainly, we don't want to scare the ladies away, which I look at some flyers and they might scare me away. I do love the kind of branding look, and I know a lot of hard work goes into that.
Okay, so kidsonshow.com, look for the blog that is titled IBM as a guest. The full lineup is there. There's quite a few rooms, loads of stuff to do, and also the links there. There's a link to the Facebook page with the rest of it, and there is tickets available now. They will likely sell out, because pretty much every innerSoul does nowadays, which is nice.
Much, yep, exactly. So grab one quickly.
That's it. Grab it quick, because it is always the last week or so where people just let it lead a little too late and they just get all eaten up online. Right. Back to music.
Mm-hmm.
Back to why we're here. We're ideally here for you. I don't want to insult to kind of develop the show too much.
Yep.
So, this is quite a strange one. You were just Googling, weren't you?
Yeah, so I am a bit rubbish when it comes to my musical knowledge. I know what I like, to me, I don't really remember artist names and tune titles. I tend to just remember the kind of visual, the sound of the music. So I knew I kind of wanted to play this next one, but I don't really know anything about the people that made it. I just know it's kind of really up my alley musically. So thanks to Google, I found out it's actually by an American indie rock band, which is a bit abstract for me, I would say, but I think when you hear it, you'll probably understand why I've chosen this tune. And I think I heard this on like a chill out radio kind of one day. So it's a really interesting track, and there's actually some videos of it being played live on YouTube. It's really worth kind of having a look at it. They're definitely very talented individuals. So the track is called 412, and the band is Other Lives.
Okay, so as Andy said, let's head up his alley and have a listen to this.
Want to listen again?
Then head over to mixcloud.com/Kidson Show.
lost in the dark age, searching for the ones in my mind. I'm so far away, but I hit the ground running. Steady as you go, I'm still here today. Oh, spouting hymns and balls and and forever talking when it ain't so kind. But it feels like forever when your mind turns to fiction. Now it took a long way. Now I was in the heat. I'm so far away, but it feels like forever on your own. When your mind turns the fiction, oh, nudging the ghosts from the skull in a night without sleep. Vibration comes first to the heart and last to the feet. Spouting hymns and balls and love, and forever talking when it ain't so kind. But it feels like forever when your mind turns the fiction.
Based locally, but broadcasting globally. This is Ridge Radio.
Yeah, it's nice and chilled, isn't it?
Certainly is. Yeah, can you see a bit of a theme
Yeah,
on
it's
some
nice.
of these?
I wouldn't say it was like indie rock, but there you go. But it's probably out as an album track, I'd guess, out though.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other stuff they do is much more kind of more indie rock, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that to me that is a stunningly beautiful piece of music. I absolutely love that string in the kind of breakdown bit. Love it. Yeah.
So we've spoken about DJing stuff, kind of. We've scratched the surface of that. Okay, technically, let's talk about DJing. So nowadays, you're like a Serato tractor man.
Serato?
Yeah.
Yeah. Using vinyl as the control medium. Yep. I'm not bothered whether you mix on Serato or Tractor, to be honest. It's just Serato that I bought. I'm not particularly...
I don't think there's much in it.
No.
In the difference between them, really, is there?
I do sometimes see on Facebook, like, people saying, oh, which one should I get? And then it can boil, like, it's just a really long kind of argument. And, you know, you've got Serato camp, Tractor camp. To me, they're kind of both very, very
And you
similar.
like middle camp?
Yeah, pretty much. It's more about the music to me than how I actually play it. I think it doesn't really bother me how the music gets out there. What's important is that it gets out there to me.
Yeah.
rather than the technology that it's on. Obviously, coming from vinyl, I'm not that big a fan of CDJs, simply because I don't have the feel of them. I think I've done one gig with them, and that was like the first time I'd ever really used them. It actually went surprisingly okay, thankfully. I think you might have lent me yours so I could have a really quick practice. Or something
that
like
rings a bell, yeah.
So it's not that I'm against it or anything like that. It's just that I'm not used to it. Obviously it came from vinyl, and the one thing I love about Serato or Traktor or any of the kind of new digital technologies is how quickly you can find your tunes.
Yeah, true.
No more digging through the big box and you're thinking, tune's running out, got to be quick. Just the kind of things that I'm starting to play with these days, like looping and stuff like that. I used to hate it when like you mix the track and the one that is you're mixing out of might be quite short at the end, or you've left it a bit long, and you've got this like mix and it's really energetic, it's going off, and then the other track finishes and it's all of a sudden sounds a bit dead. I love the fact with technology you can make that not happen. You can just loop that one that's going that you're mixing out of, and you can mix it for as long as you want. Love that.
Nice, because you've done a few mixes that are online. To be honest, we should I should put them in the blog post, really. I'll probably dig them out. There's a few that are on YouTube that have got quite a lot of listens, and there's a few that are around, isn't there?
I've actually got one on YouTube which has near enough 30,000 listens. Unfortunately, it's not on my YouTube or anything like that. It was picked up by off my SoundCloud by I think D&B Romania, which had a YouTube channel, and I think it's like the second or third most listened to on their channel, and there's some big names on their channel, so I was like really surprised that it had that many listens. Unfortunately, the channel just seems to be dead. Nothing's gone up on it for the last couple of years.
No, right.
So I don't know why that happened, but D&B Romania, thank you. That's by far the most listens I've ever had, and it is one of my favourite sets. I put a lot of thought into that. So it's called Atmospheric Melodies, and it's very atmospheric. And I do keep kind of thinking I need to do a sequel. I like to celebrate 30,000 listens on it. I kind of wish I could. I think we were talking about this when that last tune was playing. I wish we could get all of those people in one room at the same time. Yeah. That would be a good gig. So
that's the thing with like modern day digital technology, especially with podcasts and things. So I actually haven't even put it online, but I've hit the 30,000 podcast mark now, which I think's that's through the podcast software thing. That's not collating Mixcloud and SoundCloud and stuff, which are kind of a bit dead nowadays, to be honest. I shouldn't really say that because my friends work at Mixcloud, but the whole digital thing now, it's so sparse and so weird that stuff just lives on. It's all about not time stamping it or making it sound too old before. Because like now, when I put this show up for podcasts, it's going to be old.
Yeah, of course.
So it's a strange one to just not overly date stuff too much. It's an odd thing to tick. And it's the weird thing. So we're both, you're a promoter, I'm not nowadays. I'm old and boring. But when you're promoting and whatever, all you're thinking about is that next date, that next event, and then you're labelling it, you're plastering that date everywhere. It's all about that date. But when you're doing that just a podcast or something, it's the complete opposite. Like, it's a weird way to promote. It's a different theme to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not going to write up, like last week I had blah 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 kind of thing. You might as well just say like one of my recent guests.
Yep.
Because then when they see all the other shows, it doesn't make them sound like they're all older.
Yeah, and I guess you've got to do that because a lot of the consumers of this sound, they want the current stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
And I don't know how kind of keen people are to dig back through shows.
To be fair, I don't think current people listen to my show. When we're back at hardcore. But I don't think current comes into it. I think boredom and friends and stuff more than likely, but
I totally disagree.
I see this show. I'm going for a whole new market. I want aviation plane geeks.
Okay.
They probably don't like to be referred to like that, but they must exist. They must be on your fan page, and they must exist.
I think a lot of the people I've met through aviation are quite surprised that I am a drum and bass DJ.
Yeah.
But all walks of people end up in aviation. I recently went up to Nottingham and a friend that I met through training. He lives in Nottingham, and a couple of us went to his house to kind of meet up. And he got his dates wrong, and he's like, "Oh, it's great you're coming up, but Friday night I'm playing at a gig." And I was like, "Oh, really? What is it?" And it turns out he's in a band. And aviation, it's all different kind of people. I'm a DJ, he's in a band, other people in the army. It's all kind of very, very different. And yeah, lots of different people end up in it, believe it or not. But yeah, a drum and bass DJ is an odd one.
Yeah.
I would say I don't think there's many of drum and bass DJ
So
pilots.
your level of piloting as well is, you're a big boy pilot now, aren't you?
I guess you could put it that way, yes.
So you can do like Boeing 747s and things.
They're the kind of jobs I'm shooting for at the minute. Yeah,
but you can legally do that. You've ticked that box. There's a few other things you still got to do, I guess, like interviewing tests, and you have to do certain things. But you're at that level where you could fly that plane.
Yeah, so you have to have a commercial license, which I got, an instrument rating, a multi-engine, which I've got. But the thing with planes, which is a bit different from, say, cars, for example, is every plane is different. So the systems are different. Or how it flies will be different. The controls might look the same, but there'll be very key things about how the aircraft is flown that is different from different types of aircraft. So when you start flying complex planes, you have to do what's called a type rating, which is where you learn that particular type of airplane. So I've got all my licenses. I'm good to kind of go and fly. When I get a job, whoever that employer will be like, right, you're on, I don't know, 737, for example, and then I'll have to do a 737 type rating. So that's when I'll learn the specifics of that particular aeroplane. And, some people can be quite surprised when I tell them that, but that is just how the industry is. If you've flown, for the last 40 years on a 747, even if you're then going to fly a 737, you still have to do the type rating on it, because planes, all of them, they fly differently, and all the systems are different, and you obviously want the pilot to understand all of the systems on the aircraft and not get confused with what they were flying before.
So I was thinking of using as an artwork for the show, because you've flown me. We went to the Isle of Wight.
Yes, we did.
One of the worst fry-ups I've ever had in my entire life.
Pretty much.
Flew back.
Yep. An expensive bad fry-up, really, when you think about it.
But yeah, I was thinking of using the artwork of that. But then the downside is, so we're talking about the podcast, you're a pilot, blah, blah, blah. But it said we went in a dinky plane, didn't we?
We did go in a dinky plane.
So it doesn't kind of do it justice on kind of, you're a pilot, but here's your little model plane kind of thing. So
although to be fair, I've only flown dinky planes, although I've flown slightly bigger dinky planes than what we flew in.
Yeah, we went in like a shed with wings, so it was tiny.
Pretty much, yeah.
And very bumpy.
Yeah, so now...
Because pretty much everyone I spoke to, because I've got a few people, just people I bumped into at work and blah, 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 that have flown from a few airports and bits and bobs like that. They said, Biggin Hill is one of the bumpiest and worst airports you can come out of.
I've been to a lot worse. Yeah, yeah, and it will all depend on the weather and stuff on the time. Sometimes... especially if you fly at night, if it's fairly cold, there's not much kind of thermal activity from the ground. The air's not rising, the air's really still, and sometimes it's just ridiculously smooth. The thing is, obviously earlier on I was saying when you learn to fly, you're flying under visual rules, so therefore you need good visibility, and you tend to get that in the summer, and in the summer it's hotter, the air's moving around more, so there's more turbulence in those conditions, really. So it can be a bit bumpy, and obviously the smaller planes can get affected by the air moving around a lot more than the big ones.
They can skid on grass runways as well.
Yes, that's right. That was an interesting landing.
Big up Sandown.
Yes, big shout out to Sandown and the people that repaired the grass strip.
That's all good. Right, let's move on and do some music. So introduce what we got up next.
Okay, so the next track is a house track. I have recently been having a bit of a love affair with deep house. I've kind of dabbed into house over the years, but never really got kind of really into it. There's been certain tracks I've liked, but to go and I've been to Ibiza a few times, and to go out and listen to house all night, I'd sometimes find by the end of it, I'm like, I just want something different. Recently, I started. My attention was peaked, shall we say, by the people that make this next track, and that has led me to start kind of digging around and discovering new music like this. It's still that kind of euphoric, chilled out, beautiful kind of sound.
There's a
that I
theme
like.
to the sound you like, isn't there?
But these next guys, I've literally got their whole discography, and there is not a bad track. They're absolutely brilliant. They're called Bedouin. I think they're from Brooklyn in the United States, and this track, absolutely beautiful piece of music, is Flight of Birds.
Get involved with the show on Twitter
via @Kidson Show.
over to kidsonshow.com to find out more about the show.
Yeah, you definitely, I'm sure the listeners can collate in their head the theme you have, the music you like.
Yeah, I do like other stuff, but I'm always drawn to this kind of sound, if that makes sense. Yeah. I do like stuff across the board. I definitely like some harder drum and bass every now and then. But this is where I'm just always drawn to, that kind of musical sound.
You work uptown at the minute.
Yep. Certainly do, for my sins.
Yeah, in the banking district and things.
Yeah, for my sins.
Yeah.
So that's something else I don't like admitting, a bit like buying hardcore back in the day.
So you get the train in and out of work?
I do, yes.
What do you listen to in the train?
All sorts. So... yeah, kind of like what we're listening to tonight. Also, I think sometimes when I get new music, I'll whack on whatever that music is on my phone to kind of get to know it, so I kind of know it a little bit.
Because normally I get like the
put it
opposite
out.
reply. Someone's like, "Yeah, I actually listen to like talk radio, like talk shows." Like,
no, it's definitely it's yeah, the stuff like this is what I'll listen to. But I'm going to be honest. At the moment on the train, I'm reading. I was never really a big reader when I was younger,
Okay.
and obviously for a long time I also studied a lot on the train. It was a good
Yeah.
opportunity to get some studying done for the flying, and now all of the studying is gone. I'm like picking up books and having a read.
what books are we talking?
At the moment, I'm reading Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's obviously the book is always better than the TV show. I probably should have done it the other way round, read it first before watching it, because
Have you watched the TV show?
Yes.
So I haven't watched any of it. I will do. I'm keen to watch it, but I'm also like I bash out box sets in a row, so I'll just wait
Okay.
till it's all done.
Yep.
Just watch it all in one stint.
I personally think it's extremely good. From a man's perspective, at the beginning, it's extremely good.
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, there's a lot of flesh in it.
There's a lot of flesh, nice flesh, and so it's not. I wouldn't normally kind of be attracted to that type of kind of story. I know when my girlfriend Kat, big shout out to you, when she initially suggested it, I was like, oh really? I'm not. That's not really my type of thing. And then we watched a couple of episodes, and there was like, wow, there's quite a lot of rather nice flesh on show. And then that dried up a little bit. And then when it dried up, I realised I still liked it, but I liked it for the story now. So yeah, it's good. I enjoy it anyway.
Cool. So a couple of things to cover there. Your girlfriend Kat, she's been on Ridge Radio.
She has, yes, that's right. Talking about like body confidence and what have you.
Yep, yeah, she's quite big in her own game of what she does. She's very popular and does a blog and does loads of things.
Blogging, modelling and all sorts. She's doing really well, really proud of her.
Cool. A little segue from Games of Thrones. My guest next week, Samantha Bentley, has acted in Games of Thrones.
Yes.
She'll be on next week, maybe with Tony Friend, but we'll chat about that on the actual show when it comes to it. Right, back to yourself.
Cool.
A bit of music here. Actually, this one I can imagine is a Cat track.
Kat definitely loves this track, but I loved this track way before I'd met Kat, I think. Okay. I'm pretty sure. Like I kind of said earlier on, used to DJ garage probably, I guess, around from 98 kind of time and then into the early 2000s. I built up quite a collection. The sad thing was I used to DJ, and I used to have a guy who used to MC, and we used to go kind of record shopping together. And so some of my collection was not the best, because I think when he was listening to it, he was thinking, yeah, I can chat some great lyrics to that, and not necessarily thinking of, well, is it actually a brilliant tune or not. So some of my collection is a bit questionable. This track, it's just always been one of my favourite garage tracks. It kind of has a bit of a hardcorey sound vocal to it. You know, if you can imagine Happy Hardcore, some of the kind of lyrics.
Yeah,
in
true.
there.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. Yeah.
So there's that, and some of the kind of the elements in it are also kind of musical and euphoric. So it kind of, you know, it's still a similar theme. But yeah, it's one of my favourite garage tracks. Probably quite an obvious one, and it is Something in Your Eyes by Ed Case.
You're listening to The Kidson Show, live on Ridge Radio.
'cause there's something in your eyes. I never know how far you go. I never feel I'm in control. Wondering when my hand is gonna fold. Moving aside from moves you make. Wouldn't say which heart you break. Leaving me with nothing left to hold.
The Kidson Show.
Every Sunday, 8 till 10 p.m.
Live on Ridge Radio.
So we are kind of coming towards the end of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now stepping up into the drum and bass world.
Yep, that's right. Picked a couple of tracks, not necessarily that new, but just things I really like.
Is that your biggest collection, would be drum and bass, would you say?
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah, by far. It massively eclipses anything else that I have, yeah, definitely.
So from a drum and bass background, you've played at quite a few different brands, different promoters. innerSoul's been going, is it 5 years?
It's 6, just coming up 6 years now.
Okay,
Yeah,
so before that you were part of different drums as well?
different drums, yeah. Big shout out to all of those guys carrying on, keeping it going. I'd love to see that.
Cool. So that's all been doing quite well. innerSoul, though, is just cool. I love the brand. I say when I had Menos on, I'd work on as well. I love following the brand. Like it's progressed, and I said it to the other guys in the same show as well. I never get how a group of people can progress that well.
Okay, yeah. We've all become pretty good friends, which really helps. We have our moments, we have our disagreements, but to be honest, it's democracy rules, and there is the odd time that you might be on the losing end of that decision, but everyone has the right intentions, and I'll admit sometimes I've thought that what we're doing or a decision that's been made isn't the best thing, and time again I've been proved wrong. So it does kind of it does work, and they're all a really great bunch of guys. Shout out to you all, and I feel privileged to kind of do it with them. Love doing it with them. So.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's my views. I've always said from day dot. I've always kind of promoted on my own, done things on my own. It's it's great. It's really good to see. Really, really cool brand. So yeah, have a look at it online, everybody. innerSoul, all one word.
Yes,
innerSoul. Follow it online and things. You guys quite often post up podcasts by other people, mixes. So if you are like a liquid drum and bass fan, it is a good brand. Even if you don't go to the nights, it's still a good brand to follow as such, because you promote and push other people.
Yes, it's all
irrelevant
about
of
the scene.
Actually who's playing and blah blah blah. You do
Exactly.
give it a good nice push.
Yep, agreed.
So this is a sample of that style of music.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So this track is very liquid drum and bass. It's very kind of something that's totally up my street. I heard this not long before I went to Sun and Bass a couple of years ago. So that was the first time I heard it. And when I heard it, I was just like, my ears pricked up. It was like, oh my days, what is that tune? And I drove to Sun and Bass that year, and I did
You like a long drive,
I like
don't
a
you?
long drive, and I did a 5-hour mix, which got me and Russell about halfway through France, and this track was in it. And I remember when this track came on, it grabbed his attention as well. The stereo went up, and I think we may have even exceeded the speed limit by a few miles per hour, just slightly. Yeah, when this track came on, absolutely beautiful piece of music. And I do know as well. A big shout out to Deeps on this one, because I know when he first heard it, I kind of introduced him to him. He was like, oh my, I just can't stop listening to that. I've listened to it over and over and over. It takes me on a journey. And it just does. Love this track. It's Reflections of Time by Credit.
Want to listen again?
Then head over to mixcloud.com/Kidson Show.
Kidson Show.
Every Sunday, 8 till 10 p.m.
Live on Ridge Radio.
Talk about like time lengths of tracks. And lick drum bass track, they just love creaming those minutes out, don't they?
They do, yeah. There's some long ones, but that Deep House one was the longest, just 9 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, true.
So,
Yeah,
it takes you on that journey, though, doesn't it?
that's it. Yeah, you definitely. I'm sure everyone's getting the vibe of the sound that makes your ears stand up.
I think so. Yeah. That was the kind of the intention of my tune choice.
The next tracks, we probably do want to. Yeah, we want to get into this track and get it going. I guess
Yep.
I'm gonna say our goodbyes and do it after this one.
Okay, cool.
So give us a bit of an intro, then we'll bash this track out.
All right, so I decided to play this one. It was when I used to kind of play on radio. I love the fact that on radio it can be way more experimental than you can be when you DJ out to to a crowd,
yeah.
right? And so this is a track that I would never really play out on the dance floor, but there's just something about it I love, and I would definitely play it on the radio. It's got a bit more energy than what we've heard so far. So this is Reincarnation, and it's by Radical.
Get involved with the show on Twitter
Via @Kidson Show.
Want to listen again? Then head over to mixcloud.com/Kidson Show.
So we are heading to the last track.
That's right.
So thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've really
hopefully
enjoyed it.
I've gathered the aviation crew of the world as well. They'll be now a fan of the podcast.
Hopefully, yeah, definitely. Well,
I'm
fingers
not sure
crossed.
how much aviation stuff will be on next week. Minimal, I'd say, but
Well, I guess your guest next week isn't a pilot or anything like that. So
no, actress and singer and stuff.
You're
next
going to
week,
have to
so.
swat up this week. Then you're going to
Yes.
have an aviation
Yeah.
section now every week.
So in the near future, if you are flying out of Gatwick or somewhere and you hear Captain Grey is your captain of the day, did you
Yep.
say Did they say their first names as well?
That's a good question. I never really thought about
I've never
it.
listened that far. If you know what I mean, it's.
I guess it will depend on the individual.
Yeah.
There's no real rules around it, other than to sound calm and like you know what you're doing.
And I'm guessing you can't just give it a whole like, welcome to the flight today. Just remember, innerSoul is the 1st of December at Fire.
Well, I might have to give that one a try. Yeah,
So you'd
shameless
probably
plug.
get the sack, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe, but well, you don't know until you've tried, right?
So can you not just quickly scatter on the plane first and put a
Loads of
flyer in the back
flyers.
of every seat?
What? That's a fantastic idea. I like that. And
You'd
I could just sell tickets on the plane as well.
Yeah, you could be part of that. Just fob it off like all the charity
Exactly.
stuff they do on the plane afterwards, and to buy this bear to help blah 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 or whatever it is. And
Perfect.
buy a ticket to innerSoul.
I just would like to say, if there are any employers listening, I won't do that. It's okay.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so we want to actually hear this next track because
Okay.
it is a couple of acts that you've booked or are booking as well.
Yes, so Technomatic and LSB did this next track, which, funny enough, we have at the next innerSoul, so if you'd like to catch them live. Yeah, you like what I did there, right? You see what I did? But regardless, it's an absolute beautiful piece of music, got a gorgeous vocal in it, and it is Parallel.
Cool. Well, I can say my goodbyes.
Cool.
It's the Kidson Show. Head to kidsonshow.com for more information. There'll be a blog post about my guest, Andy, aka IBM.
Mm-hmm.
So head to there, and this is both of us saying see you later. And
See ya.
Enjoy this one.
Get involved with the show on Facebook.
Via @Kidson Show.
Your community, your radio.